Welcome in to Moving the Chains, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. I'm Kevin Thomas alongside Jerel Hendricks. Got a great guest today, the new head coach of the Hillcrest Rams, Bennett Swygert. Coach, how you doing today?
Man, I can't complain. It wouldn't do no good if I did, but man, everything's going great. Loving Simpsonville and can't wait to get my family up to the area.
Awesome. Well, Coach, we appreciate your time. We really do. If this is you guys' first time checking us out, be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, etc. at Movin Chains. Our website, movinchains.com. That's MOVINCHAINS.com. Our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Coach Swygert was hired in March. He's been the OC at SC State for the past 4 seasons. Prior to that, he also coached at Newberry College and Fort Dorchester. Coach, let's just start there. How's that transition been getting out of the college game and getting into a high school head coaching role?
Man, it's different. In college, obviously, you're recruiting. You're trying to find guys that fit your system. But at the same time, you're trying to find what they do well. So in that capacity, it's the same because, obviously, this high school game nowadays is a little bit more transfer portal than what people would like or would like to admit, obviously. So we're trying to find out what our guys do well and build that system around them.
Coach, Kevin briefly touched on some of the places you've been, mainly in college. But if you don't mind just giving us some more background information on how you got into coaching and, some of those detailed stops along the way.
Man, I don't think I had much choice into getting on coaching, right? My old man coached high school ball for like 35 years, so I grew up as the ball boy. He had a couple of different stops, but all of them were great to me. And then I played at Somerville High School. When I got my dad had just resigned from Berkeley High School. When I got to Somerville, I kind of thought of Coach McKissick as like Darth Vader. They were winning a lot of games, and we all know people love winners. So when you win it all the time, we had a different little take, and then had a chance to play for Coach McKissick, and obviously had a whole different take there once I got there. Man, it was a great place. Coach was tremendous, and I was just really fortunate to be able to play under him, learn from him. And kind of see how that Death Star was built, because back then, man, Somerville was something, and they were rolling, and I know they're trying to get back there now with Coach Rafferty. He's doing a good job. So after Somerville, I signed to South Carolina, tore my ACL. Coach Holt still held my scholarship. After a few more injuries, wasn't quite the dual threat quarterback that they recruited me to be. I transferred to Western and got to Cullowhee, had a great time, got my degree, and was able to play for some really significant guys. I'm not a big name dropper, but you can go back and look at those staffs. At both stops at South Carolina and at Western Carolina, I had a real blessing to be around some premier coaches.
So, Coach, you've been able to be on campus here at Hillcrest for a little while now. How is the staff shaping up? You got a couple guys still coming in, or is it pretty much all locked down now for you?
Yeah. So for the most part, we try to keep a lot of the same guys. You look at their recent success. I mean, 8-2 in the regular season, 9-1 in the regular season. I thought Coach Freight did a tremendous job here. So I didn't want to knock the tires off the bus by any means. We were fortunate enough to keep a large part of our staff together. There were some that are probably going to go to Wren and be with Coach Freight, but at the same time, man, we're really, really blessed to have a large part of that staff back, and man, they've been a tremendous benefit to be able to lean on. Coach Bennett, our new defensive coordinator, he was special teams coordinator before. Coach Judy at the wide receiver position. Those are more or less my assistant head coaches. That's how I look at them. And then there's another interesting little wrinkle in there. We got a guy named Tony Gillespie. He's our head C team coach. He's had experience as AD at Burns for almost a decade. So just leaning on these guys and has been a huge blessing. And we're trying to figure it all out together.
Jumping into the X's and O's, Coach, what kind of offensive schemes do you plan on running there? Are you going to change the system, bring in yours? Then with you having that offensive background, are you going to continue to call plays, or are you kind of just going to take that CEO type role?
Man, I think that's tough for me. Jerel, I'll be honest with you, man. We're I'm still going to be with the quarterbacks. Still going to definitely be calling the offense. As far as the offensive system, man, I've been fortunate enough to be at some places and do some different things. we've been everything from an option kind of attack, which I ran in high school, old school, pro eye, inside veer, midline, yada yada yada, to some spread option, and then I was fortunate enough to be around some really talented quarterbacks that we threw it around a good bit. So to me, Coach P would always say it: you got to give them a job that they can do, or they're going to doubt your ability to do yours. So right now, we're trying to identify what the quarterback can do, number one, and then also, what some of these pieces around here can do, and just trying to give them a job that they can do, and develop an identity that way. We're not going to be a gang that runs a whole bunch of plays. To me, you got to have answers and not just ball plays. And you got to have an identity, a bread and butter, so to speak. So, that's kind of what we're going to do during the spring. With me getting to know them getting to know me, and somewhere we're going to find our own identity that's unique here.
And if you don't mind touching on the defense as well, give them some love. What you plan on running on that side of the ball?
Man, and that's tough because Coach Freight was a defensive guy, and they did a tremendous job. They were predominantly 3 hands, 3-3-5. We're looking at maybe being a little bit more aggressive. Now, having said that, that goes back to personnel too. It's not just your starters, right? You got to have depth at the defensive line to be able to play 4 hands. So we're gonna, we'll always have the 3 hands in this system that we can fall back on and create some confusion and stuff that way. But you might see us in some 4 hands and just being a little bit more aggressive as far as trying to stop the run.
Coach, you've been around some, really special, really legendary coaches, honestly, throughout your career. Are there certain guys that you think that you've really tried to take a whole lot from, or just kind of you just pick pieces of each guy to kind of build your own style out of?
Yeah, no doubt. So I probably pick and choose from different guys, but at the same time, I think with coaching, I think you have to be you. You can't just say, oh well, this guy did this and this guy did that, and I'm gonna be that. I think you have to take their general idea, their general philosophy, and apply it to your personality. I think it's these kids nowadays, man, and really just kids in general, man, they can see through something that might be foreign or might be an act, so to speak. So we're just going to be ourselves, but at the same time, maybe a little bit of old school kind of thought in there with a new age approach. I don't know if I'll be dancing in the locker room, but it's important for these guys to have fun out there. Football's a hard game, man, and it's really hard if you ain't winning. So we're going to try to celebrate our success and or what successes we're fortunate enough to have, and be disciplined at the same time.
With your experience, I'm sure you could have, gotten a college job if you wanted it. But what made it appealing about going back to the high school game and specifically going to Hillcrest?
Man, great question. So man, I have 2 little girls. One's 4 and one's 6, and once we finish this move in late May, early June, it's going to be the 3rd move for my 6-year-old. So when you talk about going to high school, man, the college coaching deal, it's awesome, it's fun, but at the same time, there's a little volatility there, and especially being a coordinator, and that just comes with the job. You see it at all levels. Coach Streeter got let go at Clemson, and you take out the last quarterback he had. The last 2 before him were Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson. So he's pretty good at what he did. So being able to have a little bit more security in that aspect was definitely appealing. And as far as this area, as far as like why Hillcrest, man, this community is something else. Everybody kind of gets behind the hometown team. Man, I was fortunate enough to meet some even coaches that were involved in recreation sports, like Emmanuel Sullivan, Coach PD, man, and they're such figureheads in the community. I just went to a local restaurant today, man, they got their own burgers out there, so it's really unique to go in a community where everybody kind of knows one another, and they get behind the team, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we definitely get that. We've had a lot of support from the Rams fans the last couple of years, so we definitely understand that. So Hillcrest, they did lose some big-time playmakers like Bennett, Judy, Logan Coldren last year, but you do have some stars coming back, like Avery McFadden. You know, who are some guys that we should really look out for this year in the 2023 campaign?
Well, I think if you're not aware of Avery, then you probably haven't been paying much attention to upstate football. Man, that kid's electric, dynamic, whatever terms you want to apply to an explosive receiver, he's got it. Return game, and I was going through the game tape, man. I think he's just as impressive on defense. But we got some guys that are coming up that are obviously vying for a bigger role. We got a DL Titus is pretty good. He was a 0 last year and saw a lot of doubles, and he's one of the main reasons we want to go to 4 hands, put him in a 3, and maybe get him in some more one-on-one situations. Tyson Moses is our linebacker. You're talking about a leader and just salt of the earth type kid. Man, he's definitely the kind of kid you want your daughter to date. There's some sneaky guys out there. Grant Holiday, to my knowledge, and I might got this wrong, I think he just set the Greenville County record in the 100 recently. Man, he can run, and we're probably going to utilize him a little bit more on the offensive side. And our running back, Thomas Stanley, man, he's definitely a strong downhill runner. You mentioned Bennett leaving the program. He did a lot of great things here. I think that kid's going to have a tremendous amount of success. He carried a lot last year. But at the same time, he's not coming back through them doors. So, you might see us establish run game a little bit more and get some of those guys going. But, man, there's probably 10 to 15 names that I left off that I could have easily mentioned. Everybody looks great in T-shirt and shorts, right? So as we get some of these pads on, it'll be interesting to see some guys that didn't have a bigger role like they probably would like, have the opportunity this year.
We're about to flip the calendar to May, so that means spring ball is here. What are some goals that you have in place for this squad, for your spring practices? And do you guys plan on hosting a spring game?
Yeah. So as far as the goals, man, they're probably a little bit more subjective, right? There's no win or loss column when you come out to spring. So I think the only way you could really lose is if you don't stay healthy. So staying healthy is number one. Number two, offensively, is getting used to this new terminology, maybe a new approach. Like I said, we want to try to establish the run a little bit better. Some of the RPO stuff is probably going to be a slightly different. Everybody's doing it. Ain't nothing like it's something new under the sun. I don't want to act like we're recreating the wheel here. But there's going to be slightly different approaches there. I told the guys that the biggest thing to me is that we learn, and kind of build on our style of play. We want to be a team that plays to the echo of the whistle. We don't, and by that mean, we want to finish the play physically at the point of attack, whether it be a double team or the ball carry or a tackler on defense. We don't want to be dirty by any means, but we want to play with an edge and probably maybe pick up the tempo and utilize some tempo. Now, when I say tempo, I'm not necessarily saying going fast all the time. Having the ability to go fast, go slow, and little different variations to the cadence and snap count and all those kind of things. It's not necessarily what you're doing, it's how you're doing it, right? Because it's football and we ain't building a rocket ship. But at the same time, we want to have an approach that allows us to become more mentally disciplined by changing up the snap count, and I think that'll sharpen the offense and the defense, and just get after one another, man. Iron sharpens iron, So we want to have fun, get used to this new system offensively, and defensively. We really don't want to lose any momentum. They've done a tremendous job defensively, and I mean offensively for that matter too. They scored a lot of points last couple of years. But like I said, man, that the guy pulling the trigger ain't here no more. So we'd like to see somebody stand out at the quarterback position as well.
So kind of building off of that with the new system coming in, are you a big proponent of 7-on-7 stuff? And do you have a whole lot of that lined up for the summer already?
Yeah, we're going to line up some of that stuff, man. I think 7-on-7, there's some good to it and there's some bad to it. Specifically at the quarterback position, I think I think you get a false sense of security back there when you don't have, guys trying to hit you in the face. And you might hold on to that ball a little bit more. And I think you got to have more realistic options as far as your progression. You know, you might not be able to get to 4 or 5 like you can on 7-on-7. You see a lot better, obviously, on 7-on-7. You don't got the big guys in front of you, so it's less eye discipline involved at the quarterback position. But I think it's great to get balls in the air now for our receivers, for our DBs. One thing we want to do is throw the ball vertically. So that part of it's good. You know, we'll see you know, obviously a lot of deep balls and be able to play them and contest them. But at the same time, we're not trying to win 7-on-7 championships. You know, ultimately, the way, you know, my daddy, I told you, coached for a long time. He's a defensive coach, D-line coach. Man, to me, you know, you have to have the ability to run the ball and to stop the run. Now, that don't mean we're going to run it 50 times a game, but at some point, to win a championship, you're going to have to run the ball on 3rd and 2 when everybody knows you're running the ball on 3rd and 2. And, you know, so 7-on-7 obviously doesn't help in that capacity. But as far as, you know, playing some defensive stuff and playing some fancy little coverages and throwing some fancy little routes, you know, that's cool. But it gives us a chance to play the ball in the air and compete. You know, going back to it, we want to play with an edge. We want to play through the echo of the whistle, right? So that kind of helps us shape our guys in the way we want to compete and the way we want to handle adversity, you know, before you get into the season. So that's unique there in and of itself.
You have a unique advantage of just leaving the college ranks. You know, you got some guys on your team like Avery McFadden who has a high profile, but for the other guys, it's becoming more and more difficult to get those guys recruited with transfer portal you talked about earlier. How vital are you having those relationships, you know, to getting those guys into school, maybe at the FCS level, Division II, and things like that?
Well, you know, I think it obviously helps some. You know, maybe able to knock on some doors, but at the same time, that kid and his talent's going to be able to open the door. And my biggest thing I'm trying to stress to these guys is, look, man, you hear D2, you know, you 5A ball in high school, you know, it's a pretty big stage in South Carolina. You hear D2, and you might, you know, kind of think it's something it's not. Now, the Division II, I was around SAC conference down here at Newberry, playing North Greenville, playing Limestone, you know, and going forward with Anderson. Man, look, we had 2 guys on offense alone have a chance in the NFL, and another kid had a chance at CFL. So, you know, don't get it mistaken. Now, D2 football is really good football, and that's what I'm trying to tell these kids. And look, that's not even counting the guy at Newberry we had drafted in the 5th round. FCS football, you know, there's more Hall of Famers down there in Orangeburg than they got Carolina and Clemson combined. I know a lot of that was back in the days when things weren't maybe necessarily right socially, but at the same time, man, you can jump on Madden and find the best linebacker, Darius Leonard, right there, you know, right out of South Carolina State. So yeah, man, you know, so you know, all that, you know, we want our kids to get in a position academically where they can give themselves a chance to go to college, period. And if it's free, it's for me. And I want those guys to embrace that look, if it's not the big logos that everybody chases and dreams for, man, it's a free education. And furthermore, to that point, you know, with the transfer portal, it obviously hinders guys. But at the same time, man, if you can play, you know, you say if you go to D2, you go to FCS, the NFL is going to find you. Well, right now with that transfer portal, you know, one of them big logos might find you. You can look around the state and maybe see some guys transition from D2 to SEC or ACC or what have you. You know, so ultimately to answer the question though, you know, I do have some really good relationships. And let me say this state is stacked with good coaches at every level, you know, period. So, you know, we might be able to knock on the doors, but at the same time, man, these kids got to be able to work their way into that kind of role and be able to knock that door down.
Coach, you mentioned it earlier, you know, Hillcrest and Coach Freight have been really trending in the right direction last couple years, you know, finishing 9-1, 8-2, things like that. But they haven't really made a deep playoff run, you could say, the last several years. What's going to take to kind of get over that hump and make the Rams maybe get to that upper state final or kind of that level this year?
Man, you know, that's tough. You know, I haven't been here obviously with them and gone and experienced all that. I know they had some difficulties in the last year with some personnel details that I don't necessarily know. I don't have the whole deal, but you know, I think number one, you have to be able to, you know, they scored the ball clearly. I think we need to establish a little bit more of a run game. and compete in those big time games. You know, we just came up just short of TL Hanna last year for region, right? And the same kind of deal with Burns in the playoffs. So ultimately, you know, I think our middle discipline has to grow, necessarily doing the little things because they become big things, and that means, you know, on the field and in the classroom. And when you're worried about details, man, the big picture will kind of handle itself. So I don't think there's necessarily one answer specifically that you can point to and say, man, we got to get better in the kicking game, or we got to do better here or there. You know, I think everybody, you know, has to become accountable and pay attention to the details.
Take your financial game to the next level with Founders Federal Credit Union. Reach your full potential. Relax. Join Founders today. Visit an office near you or relaxjoinfounders.com to apply. Federally insured by NCUA, member qualification required.
All right, Coach, we're going to take it down a notch a little bit, go into some easier type questions here. Kicking it off with Moving the Chains style. We're going to talk about some restaurants. I like to eat. I know you haven't been in Simpsonville long, but maybe hit some places that you found so far. I know you mentioned you went to a restaurant earlier today with a Hillcrest burger, or maybe throw out some stuff. We might check a OW game out, maybe someplace in Orangeburg that you missed.
So, yeah, no, that's, man, right up my alley now. So Wing Nuts is where I went earlier today.
Good spot. Good spot.
Yeah, man, I enjoyed that. Man, let's see here. I've been by a Slice of Brooklyn, a little pizza place. Sully Steamers, but there's definitely some places that I want to check out a little bit more in depth, and some that I'm not sure the name of. I gotta give a shout out to Tony's Pizza. They're behind Hillcrest football. I know they do a lot for the upstate in general, but Tony's Pizza, that wasn't a bad deal either. And I'm a pizza connoisseur, so you know that's a hard grade, and they pass.
Tony's is legit. They got a lot of locations in the upstate. I'm a big fan of Tony's, so throw them a shout out for sure.
No question. And you know, like I told you before, back to PD Terry and Emmanuel Sullivan. There's a fish spot here in Simpsonville, and y'all got to forgive me, I don't know their name, but they meet up there every Thursday. Went by there, got some fried catfish. You know, that was a pretty good day too. So you know, that's one thing I'm looking forward to, man. All the eateries around here, man. You know, my wife is probably gonna beat me up because you know, we try to cook at home, but at the same time, man, it's hard to pass by these restaurants and these little eateries and not just dabble a little bit more than I should.
That's right. Coach, you mentioned it earlier. You know, you played quarterback at Somerville under arguably, you know, the most legendary high school coach of all time, John McKissick. You know, how special was that? And looking back, like, I mean, how kind of really surreal is that experience for playing to a guy of that stature?
Man, it's really special. And youth is wasted on the young, you know, so to speak. And when I travel back there mentally and think about it, man, I was really fortunate. He was a coach's coach. It's kind of hard to describe, man. He's like the granddad, but still had a little swagger to him. Still held people to high standards, but he had some fun with it at the same time, man. And it's hard. It's really hard to describe Coach McKissick and just put him in a bucket. He kind of built that town, man. He was there for 50 plus years and saw that town grow from a little 2A school to one of the largest schools in the state. And then a guy like Coach Holtz, man, you grow up watching him on TV, and he had his own way about him too, man. He was different. He was definitely challenging, and man, he had one-liners that he could rip off, just like you see on TV. He had little one-liners that would stick you pretty hard. So man, that was really cool. And then I got to say this guy because he gave me my first shot, but Coach Pratt at Fort Dorchester. Man, that was another really cool opportunity. When I first started working there, he kind of just inherited the program. Fort Dorchester, and probably it wasn't what we think of Fort Dorchester now as a state. They hadn't won a state championship like they did in 2016, I believe. They were kind of building towards that. I know they lost in it last year, it's pretty cool now to get to the point we talked to Coach Pratt And man, if he don't win them all and he don't win that last one, it's a failed season. So seeing that growth of that program and being so close to him and his family, he's had a big impact on me as well, man. An old wrestling coach that grew to love football, man. So he definitely has a different style about him. But those kids have fun and definitely compete. And so, just being around all the coaches I've had a chance to be around, even the assistant coaches, the defensive coaches, you kind of take a little bit of them and combine it and make it your own. But I've been really fortunate, really blessed to be around, just a great group of head coaches and assistant coaches.
Really happy that Coach LaPrad's still at 4D. So happy to
man. Man, I'm telling you. And look, man, I don't want to get too in depth because
Sure.
I got people all around the Low Country, and I don't, but man, we all make mistakes, and but let's not pretend that football is not a competitive game, and let's not pretend that our emotions probably don't get the best of us. We're all human, and it's definitely getting that news definitely brightened my day, and he's right where he deserves to be, right back there with the Patriots.
Yeah, we got a couple more for you. Going to the college game here for a little bit. I know you're a South Carolina guy. You signed with high school. So
right.
Just give your impressions of the program and the incredible job that Coach Beamer's done in his couple of years down in Columbia.
Man, I think he's done a tremendous job. I think there are certain challenges when you compete in a conference like the SEC. But he's definitely worked through them, and I think it starts right there with recruiting and the relationships he's built with those guys, those families, and the relationships he's able to continue to build. I don't know Coach as well. I'm more straight fanboy when it comes to that stuff. I know a couple guys on that staff, but not to the degree of pretending I know what's going on in the building every day. But outside looking in, man, I thought they did a great job of being competitive. Last year there was a certain press conference that was held, and he got pretty fiery about a question and was adamant that his team would stay in there, compete, stay in there and fight. And sure enough, you see them pull together late in the season and get some really big wins. So I think that momentum's definitely going and definitely building down there in Columbia. And I got to say this too. I got the highest amount of respect for Coach Sweeney and everything he's built in the upstate, man. That thing's turned into the Death Star. And if anything, he's become a victim of his own success. Like when I played, if Clemson was in the mix that much, man, they'd have been having parades. And now, man, if they don't make the college football playoff, it's like, oh, what are we doing?
Sky's falling.
Oh my gosh, man, they're calling for heads. They're they got everything but the torches and the bonfires. So I think that speaks to the success he's had and the job he's done. And I think this state's really, really blessed to have guys like that. I mean, even I don't know this new Coastal staff, but even Coach Chadwell at Coastal, man, I think people need to kind of take a step back and look what we have, and just be happy that we got those kind of guys leading the programs here in the state of South Carolina.
So, Coach, we mentioned earlier you were the OC at SC State. How sweet was that 2021 Celebration Bowl win over Jackson State and Deion Sanders?
Man, that was a good deal, man. Being a little kid and watching Coach Sanders, as an athlete, he was definitely a marked man, but it was more so a great deal for South Carolina State University. I spoke to their history of football, and it was nice to kind of right the ship a little bit. Now the ship came off keel, and I'll definitely take my responsibilities for that. But man, I'm watching. I was just telling a guy today. A coach was in my office today. I said, man, nobody had scored more than 21 points on that defense all year, and we finished with 31. And I said that might lead you to believe that we did some unbelievable things on offense, but the defense set us up for 3 possessions inside the plus 15. They were creating chaos. Special teams was special that day. They kind of got that return game off kilt, which really set up their offense at the time. And lastly, I have to say this too. I'd be remiss without mentioning this. It was pretty cool to watch North Carolina Central get them again this year. Former Gamecock teammate Cedric Williams is the offensive line coach up at Central. And strangely enough, that was the one team that we were able to beat in the regular season. And to see that team grow and come back from a loss, and especially with such a close friend on that team, man, that was pretty cool too. And that game was extremely exciting. You know, ours got out of hand in a way that I'm not sure everybody was expecting. They were expecting, you know, probably Jackson State to choke us to sleep. And you know, that night the Bulldogs got the better of them, and man, that was cool. It was great to see Coach Pugh, you know, be able to win another HBCU national championship, and add that to his collection. And again, I talked about the great coaches in the state. You know, I'm not necessarily sure if people appreciate Coach, even though it didn't end as well as I would like it to. You know, I'm not sure people necessarily appreciate how good he is at his job as well. Man, he's kept that thing together. And kept that thing going when, you know, maybe not as much investment as some other programs.
All right, Coach, we're going to wrap this thing up. This has been fantastic. But what are some of the goals for the 2023 version of the Hillcrest Rams?
Man, you know, we ain't out here practicing to lose. So we would like to kind of win the upstate, so to speak, win as many games as we can with guys that are in Greenville County or the surrounding areas. We'd like to win region, and you know, as hard as we work and as much as we do, you know, I can't tell you that we don't want to be the state champions. I mean, that's what we want to do. Now, if it'll work out that way, great. If not, then we go try harder next year. But man, coming into it, I think you got to develop short-term goals, which is win Greenville County and all the opponents that you see within the county, win the region, and you know, win state. Why not us?
Well, this has been great. Definitely want everyone to go check out Coach Swygert and the Hillcrest program on Twitter and Facebook. And they do a great job of sharing highlights and schedules. And definitely check them out on there. Like I mentioned, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, our website, movingchains.com, podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Moving the Chains brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. Jerel, anything else for Coach Swygert before we let him go tonight?
Coach, congratulations. Thank you for your time. I know that Hillcrest community, they've been so good to our program, so I know they're going to be good to you and your family. Just looking forward to see what you guys put on the field this year. We know you're going to be state championship contenders once again, and just thank you so much, for taking some time out for us today.
Man, absolutely, guys. I enjoyed it. Hey, Terrell, I got one question for you. Where do I need to go to eat? Since you asked a question about eating, you got to take me. You know, I'm a low country guy now, so now I'm up here in the upstate. You know, kind of just bouncing around Greenville. Can you give me a restaurant or two? I need to go by and check out.
So any drive-in, you need to check out any Clock, any Pete's. If you want, to get your burger on, get a hot dog, something like that.
I'm writing this down.
Okay. Barbecue. Yes, sir. I know you got a good one there. You got Bobby's right there in Simpsonville, or
that. Hey, I got to amend that now. My AD is actually taking me by there. I couldn't remember the name, but when you said an elite barbecue spot, been there, and I agree with you. It's unbelievable.
So you got Bobby's. You also got Lewis, the Texas style place in Greenville. So you got to check that one out. And then date night. You got to go downtown Greenville. There's a lot of places there. You got Coral, Gianna for some Italian, Trapdoor. You got all kinds of places you can check out. So there's a plethora of restaurants in Greenville. I'm still trying to knock them all off my list.
Man, I'm glad you mentioned that, because listen, man, tonight's actually my anniversary. My football my wife is a football wife through and through. She knew I was going to be up here working. So date night's definitely coming, and I appreciate all those recommendations. Coral or Trapdoor sounds amazing.
And then you're a low country boy. We got a Halls up here too, so there
we go. You can't go wrong with the Chop House. No, you can't go wrong there.
Never. We're trying to get.
I'm really big on Coral right now. Coral's a great spot. I would recommend Coral. It's super good seafood and stuff. So definitely check it out. But
absolutely, man,
Coach, we really appreciate it. we look forward to stopping by our practice and getting to meet you and come out to a game next year. But best of luck in spring practice. All right.
Man, absolutely. Thank you. You're all welcome anytime.
Thanks, Coach.